Your focus isn't gone. But it was stolen, systematically, deliberately, and profitably. And the people who took it built billion-dollar companies in the process. If you watched our last video on the dopamine trap, you already understand how modern technology rewired your brain's reward system to crave constant stimulation. Now comes the part nobody talks about: what happens after you recognize the problem? Because knowing you've been hijacked is not the same as escaping the trap. The real work starts here. In this video, you're going to get the exact neurological and behavioral framework to rebuild your focus from the ground up. Not with willpower, not with motivation, but with a system your brain can actually sustain. The first thing you need to understand is why willpower alone will never fix this. Most people who recognize they have a focus problem try the same solution: they decide to be more disciplined. They put the phone in another room for an hour. They download a productivity app. They make a schedule. And it works, for about 3 days. Then the old patterns return, stronger than before, and the failure reinforces a story that something is fundamentally wrong with them. But here's what the science actually shows: willpower is a depleting resource. It operates like a muscle that fatigues with use. And when you're already living in a state of chronic dopamine dysregulation, your prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain responsible for self-control and long-term thinking, is operating at a fraction of its capacity. You are trying to fix a neurological problem with a neurological tool that the problem itself has already compromised. What works instead is environment design. This is the principle that behavioral scientists call choice architecture, the idea that the easiest behavior to sustain is the one that requires the least resistance. Instead of relying on yourself to make the right choice in the moment, you redesign the environment so the right choice becomes the default. This is not a motivational concept. It's engineering. B.J. Fogg at Stanford spent decades studying behavior change and reached one consistent conclusion: people don't change through motivation, they change through design. When your phone is on the other side of the room, you check it less, not because you became more disciplined, but because the friction increased. When a book is on your desk and your phone is in a drawer, you read more. The environment is the intervention. The second layer of rebuilding focus is understanding what researchers call attentional restoration. Your brain is not designed for continuous focused output. It operates in natural cycles, roughly 90 minutes of high cognitive engagement followed by a need for genuine rest. This is called the Ultradian rhythm, and it governs not just sleep but all cognitive performance throughout the day. The problem is that most people never actually rest between focus cycles. They switch from work to scrolling, which feels like a break but neurologically is just a different form of stimulation. True attentional restoration requires low stimulation recovery, a short walk, quiet sitting, slow breathing, looking out a window. These are not luxuries. They are the biological mechanism through which your prefrontal cortex recharges for the next cycle of deep work. The third element is what neuroscientist Andrew Huberman calls visual focus training. There is a direct neurological link between where your eyes are physically pointed and the level of cognitive focus your brain can sustain. When you're constantly shifting your visual attention, from screen to screen, from notification to notification, you are training your visual and cognitive systems toward diffuse, scattered processing. Deliberately practicing sustained visual focus, fixing your gaze on a single point for 2 to 5 minutes, reading physical text without interruption, or doing any activity that requires sustained manual precision, begins to rebuild the neural pathways associated with concentrated attention. It sounds almost too simple to be real. But the research behind it is substantial and the results for people who practice it consistently are significant. Now let's talk about the behavioral protocol that ties all of this together. The first week is about one thing only: establishing a single daily focus block. Not 2 hours of deep work. Not a full productivity overhaul. One block of 25 to 40 minutes, at the same time every day, with the phone off and a single task defined before you sit down. The consistency of the ritual matters more than the duration. Your brain learns through repetition and reward. Every time you complete that block, you reinforce the neural pathway that associates focused effort with a sense of completion. Over days, the resistance decreases. Over weeks, the capacity expands naturally. The second week, you add what researchers call a pre-commitment device, a specific, visible plan for what happens when the urge to check your phone appears during a focus block. Because the urge will appear. Expecting it removes its power. You write the urge down on a piece of paper next to you and return to the task. That's it. This simple act of externalizing the impulse without acting on it trains your prefrontal cortex to observe craving without being controlled by it. It is one of the most evidence-backed techniques in impulse regulation research, and it works precisely because it doesn't require you to suppress the urge, it requires you to witness it. By week 3, most people report something unexpected. The resistance to starting a focus session has significantly decreased. The dread that used to precede any demanding task begins to soften. This is not motivation returning. This is your dopamine baseline recalibrating. As the receptor sensitivity increases, effort itself begins to feel more rewarding. The brain that was numbed by constant artificial stimulation starts to find genuine engagement in real cognitive work. This is the neurological shift that makes everything else possible, not just focus, but creativity, memory consolidation, emotional regulation, and the ability to feel genuine satisfaction in what you accomplish. Where you go from here depends entirely on what you do in the next 24 hours. Not next Monday. Not after the weekend. Today. Choose your focus block time. Define your first task. Put the phone in another room. That's the entire starting protocol. The science is clear, the path is mapped, and your brain is ready to respond. It has been waiting for this signal. Drop a comment below telling us what your first focus block is going to be, because accountability is one of the most powerful behavioral reinforcers that exists. If this video gave you something real, share it with someone who is still stuck in the trap. And subscribe if you want to keep going, because the next video in this series goes even deeper into the neuroscience of motivation, and why getting started is always the hardest part. See you there.